Good evening, Mallory.
Good morning, Sam.
Welcome back to Nobody Leaves. Today we are talking about Everybody's Live with John Mulaney. Richard Kind is here. Io Adibri is here. Andy Samberg is here. Mallory is here. Musical guest this week, Huntrix. We're talking about a talk show, which is going to be a very interesting conversation. I discovered last week that Mallory is the only person of our age group to have not watched any John Mulaney stuff, so it's going to be quite a conversation. But before we talk about that, Mallory, how was your week?
Oh, Sam, you know it was fantastic. I've completed my fourth rewatch of K-pop Demon Hunters. I've been just the face drop.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm thrilled to have this conversation every week. What new
every week
new information, new nuggets, new pearls of wisdom did you gather from K-pop Demon Hunters?
A lot. So much. I've been learning. I've been getting some behind the scenes interviews. I've been watching deleted scenes. Sam, we were talking before the episode started a little bit about like Samurai Champloo and Cowboy Bebop. As you know, some of my favorite animes, very popular animes, especially among Western anime fans.
You're a Watanabe girly. Yes, I'm familiar.
Yes. I love it. And like, if you know me, you know that I love like fight scenes that are choreographed in like a certain contained space and have comedic elements reintroduced multiple times and, you know, kind of shuffled around and, you know, tiny little details be paid attention to and make the space feel really real. And Sam, the extended version of the bathhouse fight is so funny and I'm so sad. I'm so like... I think that we missed a lot in the cut and the edit that was put for now. We discussed at length how we felt the main issue of the movie was like pacing.
Yeah, that movie's missing, maybe an hour of extra content and story.
Yeah,
particularly.
There's been some like fat trimmed for sure, and it's like there's just a scene where they have like three old men who are scrubbing each other's backs in a line. And there's so much choreography of one by one kicking them out into the alley. And then they perfectly land so that they're all three scrubbing each other in the alley by the end of the scene. But like throughout, it's like heightening the joke with each one. Like the first one just gets kicked out like normally because they're trying to protect him for the demons. The second one gets like knocked around a little bit. The third one is like going in triangles and like getting ping-ponged all around. Like the fight scene. It's just phenomenal stuff. And it made me like appreciate more the initial fight scene that they have on the airplane, even though it is paired with like kind of the cringy like burping humor, you know, like just the through line of them like making the ramen and they can't eat it for 3 minutes and like leaving it like it's followed so consistently. Yeah, like during the fight, it's a really like when you're if you just do a ramen watch of that scene and pay attention, like it's just so fun and good. And I'm like, that's what we need in animation. I'm so tired of like two guys walk up to each other and shoot each other with a big beam, or we're all just like, it's like the ending of Avengers where they're all in like just a big gray battlefield and they're all just like shooting each other and like all the girls happen to randomly line up with each other and it's to have that moment and this moment. And it's like, this is just like so feels like this feels more like Avengers Civil War, which I watched a lot of times, specifically the fight scene at the airport because it has stuff like that.
The washed out weird German airport, yes.
Yeah, no, it's like that one at least like has a sense of place, has them interacting with their environment, has like the locations matter, you know? That stuff just gets me, you know, and I love it. That's one thing about K-pop Demon Hunters.
I didn't expect a conversation about K-pop Demon Hunters to turn to Mallory does not like women in the MCU. I thought that was a weird left turn, you know, in the middle of that conversation, but I'm here for it.
Listen, okay?
We're here to grow on this podcast, you know? So maybe you start misogynistic and maybe you like transition over time to being, you know, accepting. And actually on your 6th watch of K-pop Demon Hunters, maybe some of it starts to stick, you know?
this is me saying I don't want like a here you go woman moment in a man's franchise. Like the Avengers is a man's world. K-pop Demon Hunters is a world for the girly pops, and we absolutely adore it. The other thing I have to say is that did you know, and you don't know this because you don't keep up with anything that matters like K-pop Demon Hunters.
Mallory didn't know who John Mulaney was.
I know who he was. I just didn't listen to him talk because I was like, this guy seems boring. But anyway, the point is that in the original conception of this movie did not have K-pop at all, and was just this person wanting to represent Korean culture, like in big Western Hollywood animation movie, and incorporated the element of K-pop. I feel like that's so much about like the ethos of like why it's made and how good it is, and the fact that they have like all the K-drama stuff, which I feel like I've also really like appreciated, like the references to the like girl having these like goofy, over exaggerated faces, and like the music that plays when they first bump into each other is like, this is good. This is well made. This is what the culture needs, and we're all waiting for this series announcement, and we will be watching it on the podcast, as I'm sure you're all aware.
Have you considered watching like
K-pop
a
Demon
second
Hunters
movie? Like,
I get stuck on stuff. I have a
know.
tough time moving on. I get really.
I can sympathize. I may or may not have gone to see in a movie theater Summer Wars yesterday, which I've never seen on the big screen before. One of my favorite movies. It's sitting behind me. I only cried twice. I had a great time. Went with some friends. Summer Wars, good movie. Mamoru Hosoda, probably his best. Wolf Children, also pretty good. The rest, they're pretty good sometimes. But that's pretty. I've been to the theater twice this week in my constant need to like go see everything. I saw Fantastic Four. It was all right. But
I've been curious. I did. Oh, I mean, yeah, okay. I guess you could talk about Summer Wars again if you want.
I think it'd be better for me to talk about a movie from 2009 as opposed to a movie from this week. I think that'd be a better idea.
I mean, that's the tenor of our podcast, and also I cannot say anything because this is, again, like the third or fourth week I've subjected you to talking about the same movie, so I feel like that's relevant. Like, if you know this guy, you know he loves some Summer Wars.
I do. Did you have a Fantastic Four question?
Yeah, I didn't realize it was coming out. The only headline about this movie for me is that Richie is in it. Richie's the Thing from The Bear. And then I was like, oh, it's actually out. And then I realized, oh, wait, I actually know all of these actors except for the one who plays Susan Storm. Because I'm a established misogynist now, apparently. But
only when it comes to Marvel things, apparently.
Yeah,
you have a blind spot for powerful women with little screen time or plot involvement.
Yeah, for some reason I'm not super invested in these women that are just kind of like vague lip service to the idea of girl power, and
so
yeah.
To that end, Fantastic Four, I would say she's the closest to the main character out of the four, which was kind of fun.
Ooh,
I don't know much about Susan Storm, Invisible Woman, because she's been kind of transparent in some of the other adaptations of the Fantastic Four, and she had like an actual character in this one. It was kind of cool. The movie itself is pretty good. It has kind of a K-pop Demon Hunters vibe in the sense that like a lot of content's cut, and it maybe could have been useful to have more. It's rare that I watch an MCU movie and I'm like, man, I wish this was longer.
Oh my god, yeah.
And I had that with Fantastic Four. Like, it is trimmed down. Like, it is a lot of montages, a lot of like, we're just gonna do this thing now and we're just don't ask questions, and some of that's fun and it has like good momentum, but at the same time maybe a little shallow, maybe a little lacking. The more I keep coming on here and talking about like superhero movies, because I end up seeing them all, the more I'm like,
right,
are these movies actually worse, or is the problem that I've seen like 65 of them? Like, I can't tell anymore.
No, that's definitely a tough line to tread in terms of criticism, but I think it is deserved. Like, I think that art is relevant to the time it's produced, and that includes like when a certain thing is oversaturated in the media and you just make the same thing over again, like that matters, you know what I mean? Like, it matters that you're remaking something that no one's made for like 20 years versus like remaking something that someone made like a month ago, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I think it's, even if that is kind of like, you know, tampering with people's perceptions of the movies, like I feel like that's fair to let it in a way, you know? But yeah, it would be curious as well, like what the actual, like if this was the movie that came out like pre Iron Man 1, like
it'd be like the best movie
get,
ever. It'd be like unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like mind blowing. They fight Galactus. They go to space. There's actually a really interesting like chase through a black hole, and like that. If I was 10, my mind would be blown. It's like, wow, there's like, they have a little bit of Interstellar thrown in there randomly in the middle of this Fantastic Four movie, and it's like, it is doing cool things, but I've seen just so many like 3-act structure comic book movies. I don't know. Like I liked Thunderbolts more, even though that was probably a worse movie, maybe. Just because it did a bunch of weird stuff. Like Thunderbolts has a little bit of like we're not gonna have a fight here at the end of the movie. We're just gonna go into someone's like mind palace and dig around for a bit.
Whoa.
And that was something I hadn't seen in an MCU movie, so I enjoyed that.
Interesting.
Anytime a piece of media can like briefly be like, you know, we're just gonna go Evangelion for a minute here, I'm with it. I enjoy it.
Yeah. No, we need it. Like, you need the existential white empty Barbie room if you're really gonna be like making something that's gonna. It's a good part of Barbie. It's amazing. It's so good. Yeah, like I think that definitely freshness and originality is something that can be hard to come by and is very much appreciated by this podcast.
Well, let me tell you. I have to talk about this before it fades from my memory, like a distant memory. I got nothing. I've got to talk about.
Do you want me to tell you the other things I've watched? Because I feel like this will go on for a while.
I could prefaced before we started with Mallory. I'm like, listen, I'm gonna just have to talk at you about Death Stranding 2 for 10 minutes.
And I'm here to listen.
What
I'm here to listen and learn.
Played whatever this week, Mallory?
Well, so news update: Heartstopper filming has wrapped, so we're rapidly
so
approaching. Cannot wait. I watched another couple of seasons of Taskmaster. That is coming. Like another couple of series of Taskmaster. I don't want to be too American about it, but
you're gonna make me get a dropout subscription, aren't you?
Taskmaster's on YouTube.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's like it's a network like TV show in like the UK. But it's like they just put it on YouTube, and it's
for some reason I thought it was Dropout related.
No, it's like, so they have Game Changer on Dropout, which is like the changing the format every show,
like which internet version, right?
Right, like it definitely takes cues from Taskmaster, and they've had like they're like the one that's doing like the game changes every show, like that's the gimmick there. So it's like but it definitely they've had Taskmaster inspired episodes before, but yeah, like Taskmaster, amazing, definitely coming because love that show.
I keep seeing random clips of Jason Mantzoukas doing funny things, and I'm like, I want to know.
Yes,
I like Jason Mantzoukas.
Yeah. That's the season I watched was like him on, and he was like, he very much did like the American on Taskmaster in a really good way, because it's a hard line to walk without me getting really angry at you, but he's a very funny guy and like was able to make it into a shtick without it being like so can I obnoxious or whatever,
like slam my head into this until I succeed kind of deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And the kind of the loud complaining and like the like what the heck is going on, you know, whereas all the British people are just like, guess I have to tolerate this, you know, just like that.
Oh bother,
you know,
I have to drop something and not break it or whatever.
Truly, truly, truly. Yeah, that was a really good season. I really enjoyed. There's this other woman. I don't know her last name, but the first name was Fatia, who is like this like Muslim woman who was so aggressive in like a really good way. Like just any time they would like criticize her, and it was like, "What you saying, bro? Like you want to fight?" Like just like really like had zero tolerance for any like BS, and then just would. I love some people on that show. The thing that's good about Taskmaster is like some people try so hard to win, and some people are really trying to figure it out, and some people are just kind of like loosey goosey enjoying it. And she's just like, if she doesn't want to do a task, she just won't. Like she'll just, it's so good. It's really, really
the
satisfying.
cameraman kind of moment.
Absolutely, yeah. Just like she didn't like popping balloons, and there was like this popping balloon task or whatever. So she just like stands there and waits until the time's up and goes, "Oh no, like what am I gonna do?" I don't know. It's really good. I appreciate the humor, but yeah, that's just a brief thing. I've been trying to catch up with Dungeon Meshi. I'm never gonna get through that, but
why?
I've been promised. It's good. I've been promised a cat girl, but like it's kind of stalling a little. You know, I need to like pick up the pace. You know.
Are you to the turn? Are you to the halfway mark yet?
The dragon has been fought, and I saw after that.
How far after that did you see? Has
spoilers
it gotten,
for
like,
Dungeon Meshi.
What's up?
Spoilers for Dungeon Meshi.
Big spoilers for Dungeon Meshi. Like,
okay, they killed the dragon. The sister, they had a lesbian scene in the bathtub. She went away.
Okay.
And then there's like dark magic. It's like a big deal that that the really best character Marcel used black magic
to resurrect Fallon.
But and they just met up with the samurai guy who used to be like part of their crew, and they're like reacting to like the dark magic, but like I just haven't gotten any hint of like what is bad about it.
You are,
you know what I mean?
Maybe seconds away from getting that lesson taught in a very definitive terms.
And I think I got out of the episode like halfway. So I might actually have been like the scene. They're arguing in the room with like there's the one dude who's like the leader of the other party and the samurai guy and the main character, and they're like
the party that's
arguing
been like
room.
Unintentionally like set on a path of like vengeance against the main party the whole season.
Yeah, and then they just met up, and like the whole time I was like, where are we going with this? Like, why are we establishing these characters? But then they meet up, and then they're like, oh, like you use black magic, that's crazy. And then like the woman just came in the room and was like, what? And he's like, they use black magic. It's like, oh, that's crazy. And then probably I tapped out and went back to listening to like part 3 of a 4-part podcast series about By Sister, a retrospective.
By Sister, is that what you said?
Yeah. Do you remember? Hey, do you guys remember? It wasn't that long ago.
Remember what? What's
yeah.
By Sister? I don't know anything about this.
Do you not? Do you
okay,
actually
Mallory.
not?
This is a 4-part YouTube series. What are we talking about?
Okay. Oh no. Okay. So By Sister was a huge internet drama. You know James Charles.
Vaguely.
Okay.
I know James Charles is a person that people do not like for reasons I only vaguely know about.
If I start talking about this, we will never get to talk about Death Stranding, so I will not. But it was a huge internet drama that happened a few years ago, and I was listening to one of my favorite podcasters. I finally went on his Patreon, and I can't remember his name right now because I'm panicking. Oh my god, I listen to him every week. A Bit Fruity with Matt Bernstein. Yeah, Matt Bernstein. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's an amazing podcaster. But I just got on his Patreon to listen to his 4-part series about By Sister, and I finished it. It was really good. That's the other
By
stuff
Sister.
I've been
Is it
watching.
by B-I Sister or is it by B-Y-E?
B-Y-E.
Gotcha.
Like by sister.
By
Because
comma
James Charles'
sister.
intro was hi sisters.
Gotcha.
Like that's how he introed his video. And then I'm I'm breaking my set because I have to physically restrain myself from talking about it. But anyway, that's all that's been going on in my world. So was I seconds away from discovering the secrets of Dungeon Meshi?
Yes.
Wow.
And
well,
I'm not
I
gonna
guess I'll pick it
hate
back
you
up.
for it because I'm a nice person. But the internet, I don't know.
I guess I'll let you guys know what I think about the black magic next week. I love Marcial, and she keeps me going.
Stuff
She's
happens,
like me
you know,
in a dungeon.
in that episode.
It's good to have a character that's just you in the dungeon. That's just like, this is gross. I don't like any of this.
Mallory,
Let me
you're
use
not
the
allowed
magic to get
to
out of it.
dislike any anime that does the like Dungeon Meshi. Like it does like it says the name of the show in the middle of the show. You're not allowed to like dislike those anime. Those anime are always like incredible. Like Full Metal Alchemist does this. I know you're not a Full Metal Alchemist girly, but like in the middle of every episode, no matter how serious things are, it'll take a moment to do a title card, and it'll be like Full Metal Alchemist, and then it'll show another title card, and it'll be like Full Metal Alchemist. And then it goes back to like people being like boiled alive and stuff. You know, it's fun.
That's fair. I like that. I think that's good. There's a lot of. I don't think it's a bad anime by any means. I just am not. I'm struggling to really latch onto the plot, like the central plot. You know what I mean?
You are anti 2024 anime is what I'm learning. No Dungeon Meshi, no Frieren. Just
I love Dan.
That's true.
Is that 2024?
It was.
There we go.
That was only a year ago. Well, some of it was in 2025 because we talked about it in our podcast. But yeah.
Yeah.
And now season 2 is going on.
That makes sense.
All right.
Tell me about Norman Reedus.
Here's the problem, right? I don't want to spoil too much, but I do also want to talk about the end of the game, so it's a little bit tricky. I have crossed the threshold of Death Stranding 2 where I've like rolled credits, right? And I've been in my own little internet bubble for the past 3-4 weeks of like, I'm not looking up anything about Death Stranding 2. I'm avoiding all criticisms, positive things, tips and tricks, whatever. Like I am siloed off. And now I have finished it, and then almost as fun as finishing a piece of media is then being like, what do other people think about this? I'm so high on this. How do other people think about it? And people are big mad about Death Stranding 2. And the criticisms boil down to two things, and that's what I want to talk about. So, criticism 1, the game is way too easy. Like, it is, the term that's being thrown around a lot is it is frictionless, which...
Whoa,
for a video game
that's a read.
It is a read. Like, for a video game famous for not being able to walk without, like, tripping over and losing your cargo in a river and stuff like that, it is a big change. And there's some points to that I think are true, and some other points that I think are a bit up to the eye of the beholder. And point number 2 is that this is the least wacky... genius Kojumbo Hideo Kojima game where it's not weird enough and the plot is too simple and people don't like it. I think that both of these arguments have their merits. I still really adored Death Stranding 2. To the too easy point, this game you can completely break it open. Like you can essentially, the game is delivering packages from like point A to point B. Right? For the most part. You can do almost every single mission by, like, loading your stuff up into a truck and, like, Skyrim horse climbing a mountain your way to, like, objectives. And just, like, avoid any obstacles, avoid any danger. Completely, like, mindlessly play this game, right? Like, it gives you the tools. It enables you to, like, optimize the fun out of the game. I think that's a little bit on the player. And I've been wrestling with this all week where I'm like, yeah, you really can make it too easy, but like, should you? Like, I don't know. Have you ever had that kind of game where you're like, I have made this too easy and I'm now no longer having fun?
I mean, I think what it immediately conjures to mind is like Nuzlocke in Pokemon, which I've never done, but it's like you are like, without getting too into the weeds of that, I know you're familiar with what it is, but for like people who aren't, it's just like intentionally like locking yourself out of like certain features of a game in order to like make it more challenging or fun. I know that like also in later Pokemon games, like the EXP shares started.
I was just thinking about that.
Like being this item that gives you like EXP for all your Pokemon, and like even like Sam knows this about me. I do not like challenge in video games. I do not like to be challenged in general. I just kind of like things to be handed to me. So I tend to enjoy. I tend to thrive in Pokemon games where they are very, for the most part, frictionless. Even I turned off the XP share because I'm like, some of my Pokemon are getting like 5 levels above the others, and I'm trying to keep them around the same sort of thing. And it's just
I think that's a perfect example. Is Death Stranding 2 to me is a game where you're still able to turn off the EXP share versus a Pokemon game where it's enabled automatically and you can't turn it off. You can drive a truck up a mountain and avoid like all obstacles and like use the best equipment and play the game on normal, which is too easy. I think I had a much better time than like reviewers I really like, right? Like I've watched like the Skill Up review. I think he's a great, like, well thought out game reviewer. I've been listening to a couple of my gaming podcasts, and they all have the same problem of like, yeah, it's really easy to like abuse like fast travel in this game, and it's really easy to use, like I said, like just turn it into I'm gonna truck my way through the entire game and not have fun, basically. I started the game and immediately was like, this feels too easy, and went straight to the hardest difficulty and had a lot better time with that. And it's not just that like enemies are stronger or take more damage. It also affects like how easily your cargo gets broken, and it does make it turns it back, it dials it back to Death Stranding 1, which is a harder video game in terms of like it is harder to like, you have to be more engaged with it. You have to think about how you're going to like, I need to take a ladder and a climbing rope, and I need to like think about how I'm going to navigate getting to this weird person's base that's like in a ravine and stuff like that. Like it is more challenging. You can mitigate this problem in Death Stranding 2, and you would do yourself a disservice by not doing so, right? Like halfway through the game, you're introduced to a coffin that is like essentially like a hoverboard surfboard. And I know I've watched a lot of playthroughs of this where people like literally ignore it forever because it's like, well, the truck can carry more cargo. Why would I use that? The coffin is the best thing that's ever been in a video game. It is so fun. It's like, it's a vehicle that maintains the idea of Death Stranding of like you can tip over if you're doing wacky things. So like it is an active, like I'm not just driving a truck down a road. I'm avoiding every minor rock in this weird apocalyptic Australia because I'm riding a surfboard and I'm also like limited in what I can carry, but it is mechanically so weird and different and fun. And it jumps out at me in the way that in the first game, because of story things, you're not able to shoot anybody generally in the first game, like with a gun, like a normal third-person game. So instead, you're given a bolo, which is like the thing where it's like 2 balls on a rope and it can tie people's like legs up. And that felt so different to me than any other video game gun I've ever shot, right? Because it's not a gun. Ooh. It's like a neutralizer. And it played in a very interesting way, and it was like fun and mechanically fun. I feel the same way about the coffin surfboard. You could name this game Death Stranding 2, Norman Reedus rides a coffin surfboard, and it's really fun to control.
Can I just, I feel like it would be Death Stranding 2 Surfs Up, and it would sell so and I would buy it.
50 bajillion copies. It is there is fun to be had in this video game, and there is also an easy path to avoid the fun.
I see.
That's point number 1. I don't disagree with people that it is easier, and that is kind of sad.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting because I think that, like, I'm also thinking about, like, Breath of the Wild when you talk about, like, the options you have, basically, of, like, approaching this, like your central obstacle of the game is, or your main obstacle that you're repeatedly having to face is like carrying these packages.
Mm-hmm.
And by choosing like more fun or unique or interesting methods of like doing it, you're having more fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me of like Breath of the Wild, where like there's just all these sandbox items where it just makes you want to be like, I want to try like standing on top of a rock and like launching the rock into the air and then jumping off of it and doing like a slam down, and like just all these like goofy cartoonish ways. I want to try to like blow all of these guys off of the mountainside using like a fan,
Right.
like wind fan or something.
I want to
But I
shield
think
surf.
it's like
there's so many things you can choose to ignore, but if you engage with them, they're like fun, cool systems.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting because, like, the thing that's always kind of interested me about Death Stranding, even though it would be pulling teeth to get me to actually purchase a copy and play it, is that, like, the central thing, like, that you are trying to do in the game is, like, deliver packages and, like, travel from one place to another, and, like, how to make that fun and interesting. And I'm glad that $1 billion is getting invested in trying to figure out how to make that fun. But I think that, like, when I think about Breath of the Wild's obstacles, it's like they're so kind of like they just have these little camps of like bad guys, and it's like they're so kind of like you can just walk away if you don't want to fight it. Like you try something weird and it doesn't work, you can just run away, or you can just revert to the traditional method. And like it's beating the game is not necessarily like as linear or like the objective as much, I guess. Like it's kind of you're just kind of free roaming around. So I don't know how you would think. I'm making these comparisons also because it's the last like really good video game that I played like
in 2013,
7 years ago probably. Sure. Yeah.
To me it's like, is Breath of the Wild a bad game because you can load it up and you can go farm bomb arrows and arrows from like bogoblins for like 15 minutes and then you can just break the entire game? No, you kind of did it to yourself, right? I would say Death Stranding 2, it's really easy to do so. I had to consciously force myself to do things in a more difficult way. And I've been reading threads on Reddit and Twitter and I don't use Twitter, but Blue Sky and stuff like that, and like seeing what other people have done. And there are some people who would like set a rule for themselves that they had to walk the first time they went to any new location, they had to walk there. And those people seem to have like a great meditative, vibey time. Which is one of the stronger aspects of Death Stranding, right? Is that it can be really, it's a weirdly soothing game for a game where you're walking across like the apocalypse and you're dealing with like weird ghosts and stuff. There's a third point. I haven't gotten to point number 2, but the story.
Yeah, apologies, but yeah.
There is a third thing that is weird, which is that the game, in the first 4 hours of the game, you deal with rock slides, floods, sandstorms, all of these like environmental hazards that are being introduced as like, this is what this game's going to be about. For 95% of the game, those environmental hazards are like not present. Like there is stuff left on the cutting room floor. This is the K-pop Demon Hunters of AAA video game development, where it's like, weren't we going to be fighting bushfires in this game? It's like, well, only in 2 missions. This game literally, there's a mission where you like deal with a bushfire, which is a cool, very Australian idea, right? Like what is in a weird apocalypse where everything is ghosts and everything is tar, what does a fire look like? And at the end of the mission, they're like, here's the item that will help you deal with this as it comes up. You literally do not deal with another bushfire for the entire game. And it's like, okay, well, something is wrong here. So that is another point where it's like Death Stranding 2 is, there's some weird stuff. Story, right? It is the most straightforward Hideo Kojima story that I've ever played. Like, it is like, you can, if you are familiar with his style, you can pretty much guess most major story beats from the trailers of Death Stranding 2. Like, from like the teaser poster of Death Stranding 2, like you can pretty much figure out like almost exactly where the story's going, to the point where like characters 4/5 of the way through the game go, this is the twist, right, idiot? And it's like, yeah, I know this is the twist. And it is very odd, and it is the least weird Hideo Kojima game. It is also still a video game where the president does an interpretive dance and sings you a lullaby to reintroduce himself into the main plot, while you're dealing with Evangelion Death Stranding Seele on a apocalyptic beach, which is also like the afterlife. There's still some stuff going on, okay? Like it's still weird. You're carrying a man whose soul is trapped in a doll. You're romantically interested with a lady who has gloves that like subconsciously do things for her. You're meeting a doctor who has two right hands. Like it's still weird and quirky and interesting. Almost none of the plot is surprising at all, and that is kind of sad because the first game had some advantages in that regard where you were getting introduced to the world, and it's a very weird world that you have to like learn about as you go. So like in the second game, you completely understand what the BTs, which are the ghosts of the game, you understand what's going on with them. You know what their deal is. You know what all of your team members' like little quirks are. So it does lose a little bit of that magic. But yeah, I will at some point, with no context, just send you a video of the former president of the not United States, but yes, the United States, doing an interpretive dance and essentially like stunting on the haters like at the end of this video game. And it's just a weird, fascinating, very expensive art project in ways that I think are still fun. And it may not be as weird as Death Stranding 1, but it is still really fun and cool, and I like it. This has been your Sam Plays Death Stranding 2 rant.
I mean, you sent me the puppet dance video, like, before.
The puppet dance video is a secret. This is a main cutscene, like one of the most important cutscenes in the entire game. And it's just, it comes out of nowhere and is awesome. And I just want you to know that I can't explain it better than just showing it to you.
That's wild. I don't know, like all the stuff that you've told me about this game, I'm like, this seems so whimsical and fun. So it is very interesting for me to be like, to hear that the plot is being like derided for being like predictable.
It's whimsical and fun, like maybe and also like a soap opera, right? Like it's the most melancholic, somewhat predictable, like, and this person's actually dead, and this person's actually like not dead, and like this person's betraying you, and like it has like
I see
some really basic, banal plot moments, but it's on top of like a world of whimsy and fantasy, and also like melancholy and weird depression. Like I don't know, it's strange. It's a very unique one of one piece of art, but the problem is it's not one of one, it's two of one, because now there's a second one. So
yeah,
it's hard to say.
Very interesting. I really want to cradle Norman Reedus's face and be like, baby, you're depressed, but you're so beautiful. I feel like that would be what I would do if I was in Death Stranding world.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad to get the scoop and the tea on like what's going on in Death Stranding world, because it is very interesting to me. In general, like I've heard enough about Hideo Kojima video games from like various YouTubers and my friends over the years that I'm like, I am curious about like what's going on in like each one.
I'm not doing a great job of explaining it, because I feel like I would have to like teach you like Death Stranding 101 course to explain it. I'm like, all right, so this is what chiral crystals do, and this is what the tar is, and this is what a beach is, and it's like we'd be here all day, and we'd be sitting here drawing diagrams.
Yeah, and I'd keep interrupting with like the beach makes you old jokes, and I don't even.
The beach
really
doesn't make you old. The rain
fully.
makes you old. You don't understand.
I know we learned last time, but I would still I couldn't not bring it up then, and I would bring it up again, and I don't even fully get the original reference, so I gotta just stop. Bringing it up, but I can't. So that's just kind of like it would be a pretty painful listen. But yeah, Death Stranding, Dead on Arrival.
No,
Moving
it's
on.
good. Good video game, good. Maybe not as good as the first game, but also more fun to play. It's hard to. It's also some of the frictionlessness is good. The first game is a complete pain in the ass in some regards. Like there's just little things that are annoying and that got kind of polished out. Some for good, some for ill. It's complicated. I feel complicated about it. I was very surprised how negatively it's being received. But also I do kind of get it. It's one of those games also where like the best 20 hours of this like 65-hour experience are the first 20 hours. And so I get that people got soured over time.
I see.
But also it's a good video game to put a TV show on in the background and play, such as the topic of this episode, Everybody's Live with John Mulaney. You ready to get into it?
Yeah, it's like we're talking about this dead game that's dead on arrival. It's time we get live, everybody. All right.
Mallory, I already called you out in a YouTube short and in a podcast. I'm just gonna every week I'm just gonna like show like side by side. Which would you prefer? This transition that like gets it out of the way and we just go straight to the episode, or this? And this is you. I don't like this, and I think that the audience would agree with me.
Speaking of that Matt Bernstein podcast, they were talking about like if you're a content creator, especially if you're part of a marginalized group, like don't think about like if you're gonna get a hate train, like think about when you're gonna get a hate train. And I like the idea that you're gonna like preemptively just generate it through like a mass media
your hate train
campaign.
began when you got a co-host. I want to bring to this episode, because we have a lot to talk about in terms of this weird talk show that I pitched for this week. I want to bring the energy of John Mulaney's sidekick, Richard Kind. I want to talk to you in a like New York Jew accent. I don't know if that's like gonna play well, but I love this man so much, and I love the way he emphasizes certain syllables that you wouldn't normally emphasize, and that way he drops words just randomly. I just want to sit here and be like, "Hello, Mallory," like, "Hello, Mal." Like, I have many thoughts about Everybody's Live with John Mulaney, but first, I want to better understand. Mallory, what is your relationship with Stevie from The Bear, as you called him last week?
I have it. Do we want to start on John Mulaney, like of the people? Because he's the main guy. Maybe we'll start and we'll orbit away and we'll get back to him, because obviously we got to be talking about Richard Kind. John, I gotta tell you, we got to be talking about Richard Kind. Obviously there's like all these different people in the orbit of the show that we got to talk about, but yeah, we may as well cut to the chase and talk about how I feel about John Mulaney, because that's what the show is about at the end of the day.
I can
it's
feel
about
I
John
can feel
Mulaney.
all week a Mallory doesn't like John Mulaney for weird Mallory reasons, and that's gonna
esoteric
like
vibe-based
color
reasons.
the entire conversation. So I want to know. I want to have the knowledge that I've been seeking all week of like, where is Mallory at with her judgmental ways.
Yeah. So as you know, I am very default hostile / judgmental towards when I perceive someone as a mediocre white man just kind of getting success based on nothing. If I feel like someone is too big for their britches and doesn't really have like, I'm like, there's just not enough unique about you to have been catapulted into this like high space, you're going to get the Jack Harlow treatment from me, which is I'm going to make fun of you a lot and not be nice to you. That was my initial impression of Jon Mulaney. This has evolved over time, and I've gotten to know him through this show, and I've tried to like watch some of his stand up to like deepen my feelings on him, and like get more of a beat on him, because I'm like, if Sam likes this guy, there's got to be something to him, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't even
but
know
that
if
was
it's
my
like a
initial
like or
write-off.
dislike. I'm kind of fascinated by like the John Mulaney like decades-long journey in terms of
Interesting.
what it means to be like in the spotlight and like what it means to be a stand-up person who is pseudo-canceled but then doesn't make a right-wing pivot. Like, it is the normal stand-up like life cycle in this last decade and a half is like, you rise, people find you funny, you usually put out your most original material, your most observational, interesting stuff, and then something happens. You make some bad jokes, or you cheat on your wife, or
call
you
people on the phone with your genitals out, or you
or something, right?
Go on a screed about trans people,
and then you go on the Joe Rogan
know.
Experience, and then you start making jokes about how Starbucks coffee sizes don't make sense, and your comedy gets way worse, and you start
then
selling
you make
like
a drama
supplements
series.
or something. Yeah, like, and you talk about how you're canceled on your Netflix special that is cost $100 million. You know, like, normally that's the routine, right? And John Mulaney hasn't done that, and I find that not one of one, but close to one of one for like the white guy entering his 40s stand-up pipeline, right?
I think I feel like you'll continue to elucidate this to me like over the period, but like, I really tried to dig and find videos of young John Mulaney doing his comedy bits like online and figure out like what made this guy funny. I didn't sit down and watch a special. I feel like that is maybe a bridge too far to me. That might be like, unless it's a pitch, I never get to it. Because the clips that I did watch and the bits that I did watch, I was like, this is just like boring. This is nothing.
Do you like
this
stand-up
is
in
like
general?
not. Yes,
Do you
like that's the thing.
specials?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that's the thing. But it's like, it's one of those things where you're picky. I think this goes for like, if you're gonna get on a stage and do stand up, and like this is why it's like really hard to be a stand up comedian, right? Is like, people are immediately gonna be like, well, why do you get a mic? You know what I mean? It's like you have this like instinctual like, I'm gonna kind of criticize you because like, what do you really have to say that's like worthy of my time type of thing. I think that's true of stand-up comedians. I think that's super true for late night hosts, and or at least for me. And I don't know. It's just like, there are stand-up comedians that I have thought about recommending on this podcast and probably will in the future, because I'm like this person has something to say and it has been doing their shtick for 20 odd years now and is still saying things that are interesting to me and are like, I feel like contributing to the conversation. And like, I don't know, like, I just could not get anything out of John Mulaney that was not like, so this kind of quirky thing happened the other day and it was, I don't know, it's so vanilla and like nothing. And like, it feels, I know everyone says the airline food thing, but it just feels like very bland and very like, oh, the craziest thing ever happened. And it was so crazy. And it's like,
and you get nothing out of the delivery. You get nothing out of the weird word choices or what have you, or the like, I don't know. He has like a flamboyance that I think is kind of charming, but
so here's the thing: is like, then we talk about like the gender spectrum and Zesty Straight.
Okay.
And I think that if there's anything that John Mulaney really brings, and he does in everybody's life, and this truly perked my ears up, and you said this like back when you recommended this to me last week, is that there's a certain girly pop flavor to him.
Yes.
And I'm like, there is just like a hint, there's just like a smidge, and it really comes in when he says honey. When John Mulaney says honey, that's the best. This is the best day of my life.
I thought I could hack the Mallory code with a little bit of that John Mulaney flavor. A lot of his jokes in his stand-up specials, for better or worse, are like, people think I'm gay. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
but I get it. Like,
I'm not even gay, but I guess I clean things. And I like to have
he
a
has
nice suit.
a theater
Yeah.
kid energy. There's a bit in one of his stand-up specials that was like, ask your kid about me, ask your daughter about me, she'll know about me. Ask your son if he doesn't play sports, he'll also know about me. And I think that's pretty accurate. He had this reputation in my mind a decade ago before he very publicly was like on drugs. There's pre and post John Mulaney goes to rehab, and I want to talk about that as well because I think it's interesting.
I would love to learn about that.
Where he wasn't terribly edgy, right? He's not like very controversial. He's pretty safe as far as like a stand-up goes. And he had that girly pop energy, I think, made him incredibly popular with people our age and even younger than us, right? I think that he was like refreshing in the sense that he wasn't like washed, which was nice. Like, he was actually a young person who was having like a lot of success, like probably like one of the more successful stand-ups under 30, right? And then now he has lived a little bit more life and has a little bit more of an edge to him, and is almost like a lot of his stand-up now feels reactionary to that perception, and like also dealing with the fact that people know a lot about him and a lot about like warts and all, like a lot about his preference for speed and cocaine and whatnot, and he has to just kind of be like, yep, that was me, and that was where I was. And that's interesting to me. There's a little bit of an edge to the girly pop now, where it's almost like the girly pop is like an Ouroboros. It's come back around. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like, I think that I will say, like, one of the biggest things that it did shake up my perception of like I came out of rehab or whatever. It's like, oh, okay, like that's not kind of my image of you, which is, again, my image was blank, milquetoast, bland, white guy, nothing to offer. And I was like, okay, that's something, you know. I think that when it comes to like making jokes about like everyone thinks I'm gay and I'm just kind of this like, you know, and it's like it's fine to do that if that's who you are, and it does seem to generally be who he is, but it's also just like Bo Burnham did it better. Chris Fleming, like, he's making jokes about like young girls and boys who don't play sports like know about me, and like Chris Fleming's like making jokes about like I'm really popular amongst women who own lizards. It's like that's like I'm like that's like that, but I guess I see what you mean, where it's like the lack of edginess, like there's maybe a little bit more of an edge to like women who own lizards. I've thought about buying a snake many times, you know this, but it's like I think that I don't know, it's and maybe we'll just disagree on it, and I'm just not seeing the vision, and I just need to like watch like a stand-up special to truly digest it. But like I'm honestly, because it's you and like also my younger brother, like when I made a joke about John Mulaney being like milquetoast nothing, and thinking that would play really well. And then my brother said, oh, I like John Mulaney. And that shocked me. And my jaw dropped because I was like, oh, people like him. And then I found out you also liked him. I was like, oh, okay. I'm perhaps on an island, and perhaps just because I have not fully seen this like special and like gotten through it, that it's not clicking with me. But like,
I feel like you haven't watched.
I don't know. I
bad
just feel like
is the impression I'm getting, but that's just.
I haven't watched enough bad stand-up.
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, I've watched Hannibal Buress repeat certain jokes a lot because I really like Hannibal Buress, but like, yeah, some of his sets I was like, okay. But yeah, I may be like getting curated only the best stuff on my like YouTube algorithm, you know. But yeah, we're not even talking about like you know, the show itself yet. You know, we're just like building the foundation of my perception of John Mulaney.
So I wanted to like provide some of that background, right? Like, this is a post-rehab John Mulaney, but somehow still manages to, like, save his career, right? Like, this is a guy who, for a minute, everyone was, like, obsessed with, like, on the cover of newspapers like John Mulaney had a very public, I gotta go to rehab, I'm killing myself with cocaine and speed and amphetamines moment. Divorced his wife, of his longtime wife, who he did a bunch of stand-up bits about. So that's like also kind of weird.
Wow.
Like he had a bit of a perception of like unproblematic, modern white straight guy, right? Safe. That was his brand was very safe, and then he had a very public change of perception, and now things are different, which is another bit he has of like, and now people look at me differently, and that's just, I got to deal with that. Somehow managed to like course correct, like hosted SNL a bunch of times after that, did a new stand-up special that was pretty successful, took all that mojo, that like cultural cachet, and put it into a variety talk show, streaming live, weird, whatever this thing is. And I can appreciate that as like it's fun to watch a stand-up like continue to challenge themselves, as opposed to, yeah, like I said, just go I'm going to complain about shit on Theo Vaughn or Joe Rogan and just be really boring and milquetoast and talk about cancel culture all the time and be like, why can't I play at colleges anymore? Is it because I can't get laughs? Can't be. It must be the children that are wrong. I like that John Mulaney instead is like, what if I brought back Johnny Carson energy into a weird, like, almost Eric Andre show, almost public access television, like, talk show, but with a lot of money and a lot of, like, connections to very famous people who are going to be used for like 4 seconds and then thrown away. I appreciate all that, and that's where we get to Everybody's Live.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and it's like, to me, like, I don't know what your perception is of like, it feels like a pilot. My understanding is it would be like the second season of a pilot in that case, for like the idea like John Mulaney should have a late night show, basically. That's like the way that I've taken it, is it's like, this is like showing what John Mulaney, who he is, his style, this writing team, like, and imagine if we were like the next big late night thing.
Well, it feels like John Mulaney wants to be a late night host, but not be 5 nights a week, which I can appreciate, because the minute you become a 5 nights a week late night show, it just instantly gets diluted, right? Very funny people can host late night shows and be boring as hell. Like, sitting down and watching a random episode of like Conan's late night show, it's not terribly funny. Conan O'Brien, very funny guy. Watching him for like 5 times 52, whatever. That's impossible. No one could ever do that math. But like for 260 episodes a year, it's not going to be very funny. I like that this was like, I'm going to do 10, 11 episodes. They're going to be once a week, and they're going to have a huge budget. What could late night be if it wasn't weekly? It's how I picture this, right? And it does feel like an experiment.
I see.
It does feel like, could John Mulaney be the next David Letterman or whatever? And does he even want it?
Yeah. It's obviously, yeah, like experimental in some sense. And I'm curious, like, which elements they would take and, like, move forward as, like, this is the thing. Personally, I feel like I don't know. I guess broad thoughts on the show. I feel like the idea of we're only doing 12 episodes and they're going to have 5 guests on them, and we're going to have like these crazy like high budget, high concept things that like we couldn't possibly do like week to week. Like, there's maybe a version of that was good, but I guess it's hard for me to imagine a version of that I'm truly like enjoying. Like, I think just because it's like attached to this late night thing, I guess I'm like cool as an experiment, like sure, but it's like the fact that it's attached to this late night like concept, I guess, is like just like so many of the standards of what that concept is, like the monologue and having guests on and having like musical acts and stuff is like kind of built around the fact that it's like a weekly or daily show that's like getting, needs to like keep pumping out interesting things or whatever. And it's like, I don't know, it's like I just feel weird about it. I'm kind of like, I don't know if I'm fully on board for
Mallory,
what this is ultimately.
In the court
and I don't know
of
if I
John
want
Mulaney, like
each year.
In the Nobody Leaves podcast versus John Mulaney, I am now going to walk away
Yes.
from the defense table and join the prosecution to tell you that I fucking hated this show. I thought this was like terrible, but I also love that it exists. There are two wolves inside of me. There is the regular stand-up or talk show pipeline sucks and is boring and is so formulaic and is part of a tradition that has outlived its usefulness and is so based on PR and like public obsession with celebrity and is just like bad and boring. And I think that Everybody That's Live with John Mulaney like cuts right through that and is like, we're gonna force celebrities to be awkward. We're gonna do no self-promotion of anything. We're gonna have musical acts that make no sense and are irrelevant to like the current moment. And I think all of that is great in concept and makes for a horrible viewing experience 75% of the time.
That's the thing. It's like it's throwing a lot of stuff at the wall, so it's gonna be hit or miss, and there are parts that work, but like, yeah, ultimately it's just like, what are we doing here, folks? Like, what is happening? Like, I felt weird about the fact that I was like, I kind of want him to talk about politics, just so that there's like some spice or intrigue or like engagement with the culture at large. Like, there's a little bit of like plugging your ears and going, nah, I can't hear you almost. Of
right.
Like, it's cool that they're doing weird stuff, I guess, but it's like, if you're gonna make this like thing that's live, it's like, if you're it's not good like a well-produced thing that's like really kind of like crazy and interesting, and it's not good like a live serial weekly catch-up podcast type of thing. It's like neither. So it's like, well, what are we doing? Like, I don't know. It's in this weird liminal space in the middle of like, okay, like.
But that is unlike anything I've ever watched in some ways, right? It's weird watching a host be like, that fog machine's putting out too much fog, like that, and that does catch me off guard and go like, oh, this is a real thing, and it makes me think about like TV production, which is like a fascinating topic, right? Like, I think about like SNL, and SNL is almost more interesting to talk about like the mechanics behind making an episode of SNL than sitting down and watching it for an hour and being like, that was kind of like, that one sketch was okay.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
totally.
It does go on and on and on forever. I think if it was 45 minutes, it might be a little better. I think if they cut out the calling people part entirely, I think it'd be a little better.
Well, so
I don't know.
There was elements like that. I will say, I think around episode 3 or 4, like they did start to pick up their stride. Like I will give them that much credit. I think like by around that episode is when they stopped like just listening to whoever called. Like they would hang up on people a lot quicker. They weren't afraid to be rude. I think you need a little element of that. I was rewatching a bunch of like random, and like, again, like you said, it's like watching Conan O'Brien every day. You're not going to get an interesting show every day. Like,
no, despite the fact that there are like 10 Conan bits I can think of that like just send me to my knees in terms of like, this is brilliant, this is incredible. But that's over the course of years of shows.
Obviously, like they're getting the benefit of like the highlights that I'm looking up on YouTube. But I was looking up bits from like Conan and like other late night hosts on YouTube. And like one thing, I rewatched like Conan's like pilot like episode that he made, like almost like his pitch to like become a late night host before and like at the end of the episode he's saying like, I don't know if I'll ever get to do this again, but it's great that I did. Like, as kind of a point of comparison, obviously it's so many years ago,
Right.
but it's like I think that he is a lot less afraid to get in the mud and criticize and tease people, which is so, I think, just necessary.
I don't know.
If you're gonna be
there were some
doing
pointed
it.
John
I don't
Mulaney
know.
little like jabs that I thought it's all like under this. It's under like a veil of like civility and politeness, but I feel like he would just like have these little comments where I'm like, oh, he thinks that person is whether it's someone on the phone that he's making fun of or one of the celebrities being awkward. Like it's like he there's a little edge to him that slips out more and more now, I feel like, and maybe it's just the knowledge that he's not as squeaky clean as he once was thought to be.
Yeah. Well, so like I think I was bringing it up because of the phone conversations, because like that was where it like highlighted, and that's where I'm like, okay, that like this is what you need. Like you're making fun of the people a little bit. You're not just being so polite to them and like just letting them tell their funny story when it's just going on and on, and they're doing all the setup and like there
was one where the person like jumped in,
that was good,
and just the way they said hello, like he immediately hung up and was like, I don't know, that was just a bad energy. That's funny.
Yeah.
I saw
or he got mad at the guy's laugh because the guy kept going.
There's like the paleontologist who kept cracking himself up, and it's like, why are all these dinosaur people like? Why do they think so highly of themselves?
Yeah,
there are moments
that was all really good.
Well.
Yeah, but I think he's not enough like that with his guests in a way of like the Conan bit I watched was like he's talking to this like model and he's just saying a thing about like everyone says modeling's so hard. Modeling's not that hard, and she's like, what? She like he provokes like a legitimate like, no, it is, like it's this work or whatever. He's like I feel like what's really hard is like the camera, like you gotta he's and then it's like revealed that he's obviously like making a joke or whatever, and she like cracks up and laughing, and it's like he's not afraid to like. And I feel like the guests got a very nice treatment a lot of times.
Too nice,
I didn't.
Would say.
Maybe I
would say
just was not catching.
Incredibly not funny, and like people who I know are talented being really not funny, and I'm just sitting there going like, just cut this person off. Like this is bad.
Yeah, or like they're not really being given a platform to be funny because there's just not good banter, and it's like if you can't banter well with guests, then you're probably not going to do a good job. Like even Jimmy Fallon, for like all the shit you want to give him, and I'm happy to not be so high. Like it's like, oh, he laughs at everything, but like at least he does that. I don't know. It's like
I'm of two
John
minds
Mulaney
about
is like,
it.
I don't think he finds them funny. I think Jimmy Fallon is very easy to make laugh, or just laughs because he's uncomfortable. And I think that John Mulaney doesn't necessarily find them funny, but isn't outwardly criticizing them either, or like having like toe-to-toe like you're like Colbert's or Conan's or whatever, It's like...
I think you could apply our earlier Death Stranding 2 conversation to this, of like the like late night with Seth Meyers or like the Jimmy Kimmel or the Colbert's of the world are like pretty frictionless at this point, where it's like the guest is going to come on, they always have something to promote. They always have 3 or 4 pre-planned, pre-written stories that have been like talked about and are segued into. And then you have Everybody's Live with John Mulaney, where you introduce like a weirdo topic that has like, what does Ben Stiller really have to say about, I don't remember which one he was on, but let's say like squatters' rights.
Exactly.
Or like...
Exactly. You don't remember, but yeah. No, I mean,
like,
I understand the point you're making.
I appreciate that
in
a way. Even it's like I can look at this and be like, yes, this is a takedown of modern talk show culture, while also being like, yeah, but maybe I'd rather watch like the 10-minute Jeremy Allen White interview on Kimmel or whatever, and like maybe I'll get more out of that. I don't know.
Yeah. It's weird because podcasts exist, and like we both listen to podcasts, and so many podcast hosts are really good. Like Ayo Edebiri, which I know we were both like probably our most excited guest for both of us, I would have to imagine, and comes on there, and it's like, I've listened to a podcast, I looked up the name to make sure I could reference it, Hollywood Handbook. I've only listened to 2 episodes of this podcast ever, One was with some like dropout people. One was Edibiri. This episode, she is so funny, and they're so funny, and they're really good at like bringing it out of her, and they're making like just doing all these like sarcastic, self-depreciating bits, and she's able to come on and just kind of like completely roll with them and their sense of humor, and like, and I've watched so many podcasts where it's like the bit about it is we talk about this or we talk about that every week, and they bring on like a different guest every week, and it's and it's like I've seen it done well so many times at this point that I'm like, I don't know, like they don't, I feel like they get a very short amount of time to talk about it. I think that it's the quantity of guests is really my problem, because I think if it was just, if it was just Ben Stiller, maybe the expert could come out for like 5 minutes, do their thing, and then leave. But I could also do without it.
See, I did like the like, and here's a normal person just awkwardly on the couch. I kind of liked that aspect of it because it's weird.
There were good parts of that, but yeah, like I think that like like if you just have Ben Stiller there the whole time, and then like everything that's happening, Ben Stiller is like kind of your co-host, and he's commenting on everything, then it feels like the Ben Stiller episode. You don't have to book 5 people,
right?
Or 4. I keep saying 5, but is it 3?
It's sometimes
and then 3
it
an
varies,
expert in Jon Mulaney.
Yeah,
okay, yeah, but it's like you don't like if you're gonna have Sean Penn, like make it about Sean Penn. Don't like just have him tell like a really slow kind of plotting story that's like really interesting, but also like completely brings the energy of the 100%. Show to a halt in the season finale, but while Adam Sandler's sitting on the couch doing nothing.
But watching a train wreck is kind of fun too. I don't know, like I think that's part of the bit, right? But it's so long. Like it's funny for 20 minutes. I don't know if it's funny for an hour.
Yeah, and it's like it's kind of like if you want to make that argument, then it's like kind of going into that like anti-comedy territory.
No,
which
I thought of Nathan Fielder a lot watching this show.
Yeah, no, like I definitely thought of that, and like Eric Andre and stuff, where it's like we're pushing things, maybe dragging things out too long, like that kind of thing, and it's like, at the same time, it's like I feel at times there's a dissonance between John Mulaney and the writing team. Maybe this is just me not knowing and trusting him, but it's like I guess he assembled this writing team.
Yeah, I think we're approaching it different ways. I'm sitting here going, this is all his master plan, and his master plan is to make a show that sucks. And you're sitting there going, I think everyone hates John Mulaney on the stage, and I think that those are two different.
No, I'm not
approaches.
I'm not saying everyone hates. I'm saying he's not. I don't feel like he has the charisma to wrangle the guests well enough. And sometimes the anti-humor awkward stuff happens, and I'm like, I feel like he feels awkward, and it's kind of like, okay, I guess that's, and I'm like, all right, man, like, I don't know. I like, surely he's in on the bit to an extent. Like, I think Richard Kind does it way better. We're ready for the Richard Kind corner. We have no problems with Richard Kind. He does his job perfectly. He's got like this really just like, dog just running forward, going, kind of energy, like just very straightforward. And when they start doing weird shit with him and like putting him in funny costumes and stuff, he fully like he just like says all of it. He's got like Dracula Flow energy, where it's like you're like, the old man from Dracula Flow doesn't know what he's saying and does not care, and he just knows how to do this delivery, and he's just going to keep going forward. And I'm like, that
I think that
works.
Is a credit to John Mulaney, is the fact that he has weird obsessions and weird like things that he likes, and he's just going to shoehorn them into what he's doing. And it feels personable in a way that like a really polished stand-up special doesn't, right? Like that's kind of how that's the thing I appreciate most about him, is that he's got this weird like almost he's weirdly obsessed with Frank Sinatra, and he is taking this like Richard Kind is like an incredibly obscure kind of character actor. He's been in like 10 things. He's like a Pixar voice actor and a few other weird, like, random things. He's in Curb. And he took him and said, like, no, you're going to be my Andy Richter. You're going to be my co-host, my Hannibal Buress. And that feels like a Mulaney choice in a way that I think is, like, respectable, right? One of my favorite John Mulaney bits ever is when I kind of started noticing him was, do you remember when Pete Davidson. Remember when Pete Davidson, people thought he was going to kill himself, basically? Like, do you remember that whole saga? Like, he had a very public breakup with Ariana Grande, and, like, it was in the middle of, like, everyone in the world's obsessed with Pete Davidson, and is he okay? Was, like, the topic of the day.
Yeah. I think that? It was a little too heated. I think I really tried to stay away from it. I didn't realize that it got to the point where people were worried about him killing himself. I did not realize.
This was like, Pete Davidson didn't show up on SNL this week. Is he okay? Is he in rehab? Like, there was there was like that kind of like concern, but also tabloidy, like, horrible parasocial thing going on with him, right? Like, when he was like at the absolute height of, like, why is this other quirked up white boy so famous right now kind of deal, right? And it seemed like he was going through his own, like, drug problems and depression and he was like a very vocal about being depressed, and that was like a whole thing, right? And John Mulaney came in as like not a guest host on SNL, but essentially like he hosted, I think it was Weekend Update with Pete Davidson. And so all eyes are on this, right? Like, everyone's obsessed, like, is this guy okay? They get through that in the first 30 seconds, and then it's just Pete Davidson and John Mulaney talking about this obscure Clint Eastwood movie called The Mule, about how he's an old man who traffics drugs for cartels, that, like, came out the week this bit started. And it's just them describing the plot of The Mule to each other when everyone wants to talk about anything but this. That's very funny, I think. Like, that resonates with me as, like, I know everyone wants to talk about this, but why? So he's an old man, but he's having sex with prostitutes, and it's Clint Eastwood starring in the movie that he's directing. Like, that tension between, like, I'm going to talk about only what I care about, and I'm going to... that feels real to me. Like, it feels like that is really something that John Mulaney wants to talk about. Like, he really does want to talk about The Mule and not do, like, a weird SNL, like, bit of the week. Does any of that make sense?
Yeah, like, I'm tracking it. So the weird obsessions thing is, like, because it's kind of a trope to an extent, right? It's like, I'm really into this right now, and there's, like, a really bad version of that that's like, isn't it so crazy that I'm so interested in Transformers? That's wild, you know what I mean? And then there's, like, really funny ways that you can kind of, like, harp on your, like, things that you're, like, really fixated on, and that and it's that, I mean, I guess it's the same line in comedy of, like, you know, are you saying something funny and original about airline food, or are you kind of, like, really playing, like, what's the deal? Like, when you get to the what's the deal point and you're, like, really, it's strange, like, it's because you're really underlining, it's strange that I'm interested in this, I guess. And it's like, I guess it walks that line. I think maybe if I was more familiar with John Mulaney again, like, maybe if I'd seen this interview, I would be, like, 100% convinced that he was really, like, he cared about this, like, old movie with Clint Eastwood. But I think that I think that maybe, because the other thing I was thinking the whole time we're watching, I'm like, he seems so nervous and not comfortable, and I feel like that it was an uphill battle to convince me that he actually cared about or was interested in any of these topics that, like, felt like they were fairly quickly resolved. Like, there was not a whole lot to break off in terms of, like, sincere discussion where he seemed, like, animated about it, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Like, I'm like, are you projecting a bunch of stuff onto John Mulaney, or do I just not understand who this person is, and I'm just not getting his character at all?
I think I'm giving him maybe too much of the benefit of the doubt, because, again, I don't think this show works very well at all. but which is a weird. I'm bouncing. I'm just running back and forth between either side of the courtroom, but
Yeah, this is like the Amelia Perez is bad, and I'm like the person coming on and be like, and this is why trans people shouldn't have rights, and you're having to constantly be like, no, I hate the movie too, but listen, like maybe
Right.
trans people deserve a modicum of respect, but in this case, the oppressed minority is John Mulaney.
I think yes, because I can only sympathize with quirked up white boys because I am a quirked up white boy, quirked up straight white boy specifically.
If you're quirked up and white, we see you.
I think you and I are like I think this kind of stuff is going to be like black licorice to both of us. Like it's going to be like something that like we are like not into. We find it stilted, weird, slow, regardless. And I think that's because we have a gluttony of choice on the internet. And I think that internet content is so much more specialized and authentic than tuning into an episode of Late Night with Jimmy Fallon or what have you, or Late Night with Colbert, right? Like, I think the reason I resonate with John Mulaney a little bit is because I feel like some of his actual interests and authenticity and, like, a mean streak, like, I think all that kind of sneaks in to what is normally expected to be, like, a very polished persona.
Yeah.
But I think that we get the actual version of that watching like your dropouts or your podcasts or your like specialized products, right? I like Bill Hader a lot. I got nothing out of Bill Hader being on this episode of Everybody's Live with John Mulaney. I like watching Bill Hader on an hour-and-a-half movie podcast of him breaking down why he likes weird character actors in Coen Brothers movies. Like that to me is such a better experience. But it's hyper specific, right? Like I was able to find not just one thing I like, which is like Bill Hader and the Bill Hader Project of Barry and all the things he makes, but also apply that even further to like him on a movie podcast with other hosts I like, and that is such a catered to me experience, and I can get that all the time with everybody. I can watch Iowa Dibry on like an hour and a half Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend podcast where it's just about her and her talking about her and Tyler the Creator running into Conan O'Brien. Like I feel like it is so much easier to get the podcast experience of like people with their guards down when you move away from the polished late night experience.
Yeah,
right?
I see. So I can get what you're saying in the terms of like in the world of late night and as commentary on late night, it is perhaps like more interesting and like more like when compared to like your average late night show, like when compared to your average late night show is like kind of having something to say almost about like the format itself.
I still don't think it works very well. I still think I find
but
it,
it's yeah. It's one of it's because yeah, it's like you get into this weird like, is it an anti-joke or is it just bad? Is it like commentary or is it just boring? Like that weird kind of territory. And I think we are both on the side that ultimately it is not like a super engaging watch, and feels like some potential was like maybe like left on the cutting room floor. I think. I think like in my mind the best version of this is like, because there's so many like good podcast hosts that they can bring on. You can have any guest and they're gonna be able to like find some banter and find some like, you know, ways to dig into them. And it's like, I guess the best version of this to me is like you're just kind of like doing a live podcast with a studio audience and like. But yeah, maybe you can't get that comfortable when you have that many people watching you, I guess, and it's all live. But who knows? Yeah.
I think there's also an expectation setting when it comes to like, I'm gonna listen to an hour-and-a-half podcast, and not every minute of it's gonna be fire. But I'm gonna sit down and watch an hour-long talk show. I would expect to be entertained the entire time, right? Like there is a
and
you then you throw like parasocial relationships on top of that, like, I feel like I know the podcast hosts I listen to. I can predict what they're going to say or what their opinions are going to be on things, and it makes it more engaging and interesting, even though there's still an artifice to it, and there's still, like...
Right.
I mean, I think we bring up parasocial relationships when it comes to the internet, like every other episode of this podcast, for good reason, because it's, like, warping everyone's brains into making them feel like they're friends with the people in their ear. But...
We are. I know that.
But quietly, yeah, we are. It feels like it, right? Like, quietly, it's like, oh, this is...
Yeah.
It's taken that second step of being like, this person betrayed me because they didn't like a movie I thought they would like, or whatever. Like, that's the step that you and I don't take, but many people do.
Even though I forgot his name early on the podcast, we are personal friends.
Right.
Absolutely. No, it's like, yeah... I just think you had to really sell people on John Mulaney. Like, you had to, for this to be successful, you have to feel parasocial about John Mulaney by the end of it, and I just don't.
But the thing is, so many people do, right? And that's why it's, like, an interesting choice to me, is, like, someone at the height of their power taking a left turn instead of staying on the highway, right? And I can appreciate the gamble, even if I think it's a very weird and disjointed project.
Yeah. I will say something that I had wanted to bring up. There are two writers on this show that I'm familiar with, and their names are Rajat Suresh and Jeremy Levick. I don't know if you're familiar with them. I followed Rajat on... and I hope I'm getting his name right. I followed him on Twitter for a while until I stopped using Twitter. And I was like, I just seen like random bits of humor and like, I guess just like YouTube-y type of sketches that they'd put out like over the years. They're very like absurdist, like, you know, the I guess, like, if you want to say Nathan Fielder, like, they're very, like, no emotion, like, we're not gonna, like, give any hint at all that we're telling a joke. The only way that deadpan, yeah. Like, I think the bit that I saw them that they originally did was they did, like, a Jordan Peterson style, like, debate thing where they were parodying, like, Jordan Peterson, like, owns college student, but they're, like, they're having an argument about, like, a children's storybook about a rabbit that like gives cookies to like his friends and stuff like that, and like just really successfully like mimicking and like parroting all the language and the ways that they like talk about things, like when just like referring to this like simple children's story,
right?
So it's like I had like, and I felt like just from tweets and stuff, like I had like a beat on their style of humor. And I felt like that was very pervasive on the show. Obviously, these two people are not the only two writers on the show. Jeremy is the one who's like playing the PA who is helping him out when he's blindfolded, in the episode where he's blindfolded for the whole thing.
Yeah, he's the guy with like the short hair, right?
Yeah. And then they show up like throughout like certain bits. But yeah, like I felt like there was a lot of stuff where I'm like, that feels like they wrote that. And it whenever I would see stuff like that, I'm like, that just feels so like not what the show is. Or it just felt like John Mulaney wasn't the host to deliver that joke idea in a way, you know what I mean? In the way that like I feel like if these two were writing for like an Eric Andre, which like, you know, I have my feelings. I'm not saying Eric Andre is like flawless, but it's like it would feel more at home, I guess, with like someone who's just willing to like be completely unhinged and crazy and or like do deadpan, like kind of make people uncomfortable, I guess, like or Nathan Fielder, you know what I mean?
The John Mulaney polished stand-up and the Nathan Fielder, Eric Andre show energy that the show is giving off.
Yeah.
Right?
And I was like, I could see him finding this stuff funny and appealing in the writer's room, but I just kept getting this. I'm like, he just seems so uncomfortable and like not in his element the whole time. I'm like, is this what you wanted to do? Like, what are you really going? Like, I feel like it felt like the entire show felt like I'm just gonna get a bunch of stuff I like and put it together, right? And like I can appreciate that. It's like I'm gonna get like everything, 3 guests. I'm gonna get Richard Kind, who I really like. I'm gonna get like all these writers who I think are really funny. I'm gonna get this really cool song. We gotta talk about the song. I'm gonna get all of this stuff together. I'm just gonna put it all together, and it's gonna turn into something that I really like. But it's like it just feels like a mismatch. It feels like there's maybe not enough thought into like how do these elements really interact with each other? Are they gonna play together well? Are they gonna be born into like something that's ultimately interesting? Like I don't know. It's certainly that was my feelings after watching it. But yeah, maybe like John Mulaney is like banging his hands on the wall crying because I don't understand him.
I think he's gonna be fine.
No one
I think he's doing just fine.
But yeah, that's my read on it. It may or may not be accurate.
So I think we're probably about spent on terms of our conversation. I do have to say, in the escalating Cold War that we have of pitching different formats every week, I'm not sure if we'll ever see another talk show on this podcast.
That is true, because I don't know how we would like unless we did just like a series.
Let's watch
Are you
season
familiar
45 of Colbert on late night.
Are you familiar with like Jordan Schlansky Conan stuff?
Yes.
Is that okay? Yeah, I'm like we just like click the whole YouTube playlist of like highlights of like bits that they have recurring bits.
I think
like,
it's telling that
this
like
bit?
Some of my favorite late night bits, and it sounds like some of yours as well, are the pre-recorded stuff, right?
Right.
It's like the
totally.
SNL digital short versus the live sketch is kind of like at odds with each other.
Yeah, no, I think I honestly that was like kind of true in the show. There were some of the pre-recorded bits where I'm like, all right, you kind of got something here, like him fucking around on the line of like to get a passport or no, to get a real ID.
A real ID, yeah.
Like that was pretty. Yeah, I think Real ID was probably one of the better topics because like that was actually like relevant, politically relevant, and then it was good because you had the lady on there. She was a really good expert. Okay, actually, I'm this has opened a whole bag of worms at me because I wanted to talk about the experts. She was a really good expert because she was like desperately trying to explain this government program, and then all the guests would be like, I hate this. I don't need this. It was like, it was a really good energy. I really enjoyed it.
I felt that way with the Solicitors General and Stavros as like a weird pairing of like, they're going to be in court and they're going to be citing like Stavi baby sitting here talking about dudes coming or whatever in this conversation that you're in, and you're just going to be thrown out of court. I thought that was a really funny, like, putting straight-laced professionals in the industry and former hosts of Come Town together was just an interesting, like, what is this show?
No. Totally. Like, I think it works, like, in those moments, but yeah, like to me, the most intolerable moment of the show was in episode 2 when you brought in the expert about, like, cruises. Like, she was a representative for,
that was
like,
easily
like,
my
the
least favorite
cruise
episode.
Industry. And she is just spouting this bullshit. And I think there was, like, one guest that was kind of, like, pushing back of being like, that sounds awful, or, like, that sounds crazy. And, like, she's just fully being like a PR person with like no sense of humor about it, like is just being like, no, that's not what cruises are like. They're awesome. Where it's like,
right.
I've never been on a cruise. I'm not super familiar. It seems very like scammy and like.
No, I felt like I was being sold a timeshare, like in this talk
right.
show. As opposed to
and
the mortician
like John Mulaney,
who's like, yeah, I listen to Monster Mash as I cut people up sometimes, and I'm like, okay, well that's interesting.
Yeah. Exactly, and it's like that was fun. Like they're fun experts, but it's like a lot of times if anyone was turning into the experts, it would be the guest. And I'm like, the host needs to be calling this bullshit out. Otherwise, I'm gonna be like, why are you just like smiling and nodding as someone like gives you a PR? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
it felt like John Mulaney like had a bunch of action figures and like he just like put them in a a bin and then like shook it up
Yeah.
and then just like dumped it on the ground and like stood back and looked at his like work like, all right, I did it.
Yeah, and it's like, do I really like maybe you'd be a really good producer for a late night show with someone else as the host, but it's like I feel like if you're gonna be in that host role, like you got to be calling out like what's happening and like pointing at the elephant in the room a little bit.
I
Because
found
like
some of
if
his
you're not gonna
reactions
do that,
funny,
if you're not
but
gonna like grill,
we're definitely like low key for sure.
yeah, it's like you need like someone who has a little bit of or like maybe that is your co-host and you get someone like that to do a little bit more of the like digging and jabs and stuff like that. But it's like especially if you're gonna bring on like experts from industry, like if you're gonna bring on the woman about real IDs, like you gotta be ready to like criticize real ID or like ask the stupid questions that the public have that they want to ask, you know what I mean? And not
Well,
just
it feels like we
know.
talked about Conan earlier. It feels almost like a reverse
Yeah.
Conan, where like Conan's the mean, like prodding guy, and he's the main host, and then like Andy Richter's kind of like the calmer, like more like asking general questions, like just like the grease on the wheel of keeping the show running.
Right.
And in this show, it's like Richard Kind is always in his own universe doing something that we kind of understand. And then John Mulaney has to be the boring, like, all right, I guess we're going to take a call now.
Yeah, and it's like
moments of brilliance, like having a little cardboard version of the food delivery bot looking like it's going to jump off of a skyscraper in Teen Town. That isn't called that. Why is it called Teen Town? Even though it's the town about growing up. Like there's little things that I like smile at, and I'm like, okay, that's a really good bit buried in a 55-minute program.
I knew I was trying to remember. I knew that there was some pre-recorded content that I was like, okay, that was.
I don't even like the Teen Town bit, but I like the little like he's holding up a little cardboard.
I liked the narrative about the robot, like doing the jump. Like I thought that was nice. It's fun that they had a robot on set for sure.
I like when it got stuck.
Yeah,
and they talked about it like getting mugged in front of Conan and Io.
I liked when they just took it and ran away. They were like, "Hey, that was pretty good."
The bit about
Conan was very refreshing on the program. I think
the Gatorades and Cokes that have all been like had their labels hidden, and he's in Mulaney like refusing to play ball with like the legalese of it. It's like, here, you want this not red Gatorade? That's pretty funny to me. That cracked me up. You know, there was some sparks.
Yeah, it's not nothing, and it's like and it's certainly like it gets better as it goes along for sure. Like it picks up and people feel more comfortable and less like stage fright. I think for certain. But yeah, overall, I mean, okay, and then we got to talk about the intro. But I'm buying LA. I live and die in LA.
Yeah, there's To Live and Die in LA and John Mulaney driving around LA and showing random shots of like protests and minions and sunsets and people on motorbikes. Just an immaculate vibe. Like easily, I kind of dreaded watching this because there's a lot to watch in a week, and I very quickly realized I had pitched something I wasn't really vibing with, but at the beginning of every episode, I'm smiling because this intro music is just fantastic.
The minion bit is really good.
It is.
It's the main good bit. It's the highlight of every show because it's like right as the song little piano riff puts the emphasis like and it like shows the minion
and then it turns
out.
into a sunset, and it's like that's money.
Amazing. Baby. That is phenomenal stuff, and I really appreciated that every episode. That was my highlight. And like him being cool in LA. I think I saw a little bit, and this was like, you actually brought this up a little bit before we were talking. So like LA guy, like the image of LA guy. I've never understood the appeal, and I think you also said you kind of didn't understand the appeal until you saw this intro.
I've been to like every major city in California except for LA.
I think I also didn't understand the appeal until maybe seeing this. It's like I've gotten like little glimpses of it through like I think GTA has shown those glimpses of like, and it's referencing like old movies and stuff that I haven't watched, of like the appeal of LA guy. And then this is very like LA guy chic that's going on. The magician turning like the playing card into the watch,
Yes.
and like, you know, and it's all capped by the beginning intro of him adjusting his sunglasses and like, you know, getting ready in his car, and like everything's orange, everything's sunset, everything's like, you know.
I don't remember if they ever do a joke about it,
LA.
but it ends with him driving his car, and if he drives for like another 4 seconds, he's just gonna crash into a wall. Like, he's driving to nowhere. And I think that that's also intentional. Like, I can't tell how much of this is intentional and how much isn't. That feels intentional to me because it's something that like you make before the show comes out, right? And it feels a little metaphoric. Like, I'm gonna.
It feels absurd. Like, I think there's definitely an undercurrent of like absurdness going on in the intro, and like it's gearing you up for like a really fun, absurd, avant-garde like experience. You know what I mean? And I think that like and the even the like song and lyric, like the song choice is so great. We've both been listening to it, but like even the lyrics are about just like what am I doing here? The pointlessness and aimlessness of like life in LA. Like, you know, why are all these things happening? Like, I think it really gets you up high, and then I just don't get the vibe that he's having fun in these episodes.
I think
you know what I mean? I think that's.
I do think that there's a tinge of like you said, nervousness, or like I'm having to be the adult in the room of like keeping things moving. I think that the live aspect of it clearly like hampers the show in a way where like he's constantly having tech problems talking into his ear, and you can feel him getting irritated, like having to have things be repeated on the phone calls, and it's like all of that gives it, I think, a little bit of a negative aura in what should be like a fun production. I feel like if they took like the 10 best ideas of this show and made a 2-hour absurdist like movie, it would be great. Or like a one night only live performance kind of deal. Applying like avant-garde absurdist humor to a weekly late night show, they just
to a live thing, like
into something that's live, like it just, and live to the world as opposed to live in like a single theater, right? Like the stand-ups have this energy too of like a stand-up special is it feels like it's organic and in the moment, but it's also people presenting incredibly polished bits, and oftentimes a stand-up special, like a Netflix stand-up special, is cobbled together from multiple recordings, even where like the stand-up wears the same thing, and they take like the joke landed on this set and didn't land on this set, and we're going to cut it all together and make it seamless and give you like a polished performance. You can't do that when it's a live show, and I respect the rising, or at least trying to rise to that occasion and like taking the challenge, and then maybe falling short.
Because like because like Eric Andre is the obvious comparison, and like Eric Andre would not work without the editing. Like Eric 100%. Andre is like they use silence in ways and like the awkwardness as like kind of a punchline, but they have like such a sense of rhythm and timing to where it's like, because there's so many stories about like guests who were on Eric Andre, like talking about their experiences from their perspective and stuff,
and thinking they had a normal interview and then going and watching it.
Or like, well, either that or like talking about like things that were not in the episode because they just did not pan at all, or like how long silences actually were, and they were way too long to where like if you actually watched that live you would not be entertained. It's like it's so much of it is made by like quick cuts at the right time, like
sound effects, editing, and for sure.
And it's like all of that stuff is like so important, I think, to it working. So I don't know, it's a fun experiment. We don't want to like be mean to people for just trying something new, but it's just something. It's just a little something, baby, and and some people got it and some people don't, and it's. Can we talk about Late Night Champ? I like that song because I'm stupid.
What?
I thought it was an original song made for the show.
Oh my god.
I really did. And then I looked up the music video. This came out in 2012, right? And and it doesn't seem okay. It seems like it is not about being a late night talk show host. And then I was like, whoa, what is this song? So this was released in 2012. There's like this music video that has like no likes on it, and like a bunch of comments from 12 years ago, and then a bunch of comments from like a few months ago or whatever Everybody's Live came out. And there's a like it's like this guy just like walking around at night, and then he goes to like kind of a circus type carnival type thing.
Okay.
And he's doing that. He's wearing like the red, like, you know, tailed coat or whatever, and dancing around on stage and singing, while like his audience is like the bearded lady and the little person and the big muscular strong guy.
Mm-hmm. Some P.T. Barnum
like,
energy, sure.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's really funny that a song called I'm the Late Night Champ exists, and it's a really good intro for the show. And I know that I'm sensing some hostility for you. That's maybe because it's being compared to like, you know, To Live and Die in LA, which is obviously a far superior song, but it's pretty funny. That honestly, of all the bits that worked for me on the show, it was the fact that they did a bit about like I'm the late night champ. That's funny. I love that.
I'm learning that, like...
You're just shaking your head no.
Word association. That's what you think was missing from Everybody's Live, is, like, what if the song was about being a late night person?
But it's like, it's just such a weird, like, it's late night, and I'm feeling kind of hungry. It's like, what are you doing? What?
It sounds like a Taco Bell
What is
commercial.
happening? No, for real. It's like, where are you going with this? I love that stuff.
Well, Mallory, you may love
yeah,
Everybody's Live musical bits, probably not musical guests. We kind of ignored that, and I think that's telling.
Yeah,
we'll leave
and
it
we
there.
didn't even talk about the fight with the teenagers.
That's true.
Which I think is also a little bit telling
It was
about
fun.
how
I
entertaining
thought the
it
idea was,
ultimately
again,
was.
a lot of, like, the show is more fun to, like, explain the bit than actually watch the bit.
Yeah. Fun on
So
paper.
you like the music. How do you feel about the show in general? Let's skewer John Mulaney one last time on this podcast. It's time to rank.
Rank him. Listen, John. I'm proud of you for
Johnny?
getting over Johnny.
Hey, John. I love
Addiction.
Richard Kind. So Richard Kind's is sale tier for sure.
Addiction is hard, John, and I don't understand it because I am completely fine and without any kind of flaws at all. And I don't know why I went there. That seems so mean to say before.
You're gonna make fun of
before
John
you
Mulaney's
rank.
addiction to amphetamine, speed, and cocaine,
Yeah.
and then give him an F. Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, let's rewind that. No, I think
You know, Mallory, it's hard to
That's-
do. Imagine if we were live right now and you couldn't edit that out, and you're not going to be able to because I'm going to keep bringing it up. But like, that is the challenge
pretty
that
much-
they're up against, right?
there are times when I'm editing this where I'm like, wow, that thing I said was really not funny and awkward. I should edit it out. And I never do because I'm like, I can't allow myself to start doing that because I will like not speak in the podcast
Yeah,
anymore.
one week of the podcast
Just
is
be
going
like
to be
Sam
20
talking
minutes
to himself
long,
and
and it's
me
going to be like,
nodding.
oh, that's telling.
Um,
Like, what happened here?
Yeah, exactly. It's like just a bunch of clips of me like, and then it like cuts to you talking again. Yeah, but yeah, we're on air, we're live, we're doing it live, and we're doing it better than Everybody's Live. That's my opinion. I rank this as man, it's between the bottom two tiers.
I know. I'm wondering which one is which. What is there anything in your bottom tier?
Amelia Perez is the
Oh, of
only
course.
thing currently.
It's not as bad as Amelia
And-
Perez. Like,
I know it's not as bad. It's okay in ew. I guess ew would actively disgust me and upset me. Okay is I'm like, okay. So yeah, I think it's okay. It's going next to Stop Making Sense.
it's so funny.
Um,
There was a
and
moment
okay.
I knew I was in for it this week when I went to watch an old John Mulaney stand-up, and the music, like the song chosen as the intro, was a David Byrne song, and I'm like, Mallory's coming for this. I can feel it.
I could smell the David Byrne energy on him the whole time. Yeah. No, it's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world. There are like nice parts. There are guests that I like on there.
So you're not banishing it to the Amelia Perez graveyard?
It's not actively offensive and harmful to trans people, so I think that I'm gonna give it. I think ew, because there's a lot of stuff that irritates me because I'm like, this is just bad for the culture, and it's not there. So it's not getting that bad.
A triceratops and a rhino have a lot more in common than a triceratops and a goddamn cockatiel.
You're so bored of this concept that you just yawned.
No. No.
Well, Mallory, take us home. What are we gonna watch next week? Let's get out of this. I've set us up for failure on this episode, and so you need to bring us back from the brink.
Yeah, we need to do something that is guaranteed to be a successful, fun thing. I need to wash my mouth out of this like thing that I did not enjoy so much. We got to do something that we're going to love.
Okay.
And that's why we got to find out what happens next. That's right. We're bringing it back. We're finally going back. Yes, because I really intended to be further along with getting through this comic by this point, and a lot of stuff has been coming out, and there's even more stuff coming out that like I could have looked at, but no, we got to play homage to Max Graves, my favorite webcomic artist, and
maybe the only person
so we're
to
gonna
ever
be reading
retweet this podcast ever, which is nice.
the only creator of anything that we've ever reviewed on this podcast to have any awareness of our existence.
Well, we don't know. The Jeanette McCurdy
really
episode's
hope
not
he
out
didn't
yet.
watch.
Maybe Jeanette, took this podcast for a spin.
Yeah, the only reason why I think Jeanette McCurdy might watch it is because I listened to a podcast of her talking about how she watches like just random videos of like teenagers with no followers, like, and just old like moms like doing like knitting and stuff like that.
So,
and she's interested in nobodies. I'm like, maybe she'll.
Hey, I got a perfect podcast for you. Let me ask you this: what happens next? The webcomic. Are we? Is it chapters 4, 5, and 6? Is that what we're doing? Are we doing everything that's currently out?
I think that I want to. So we did 1 and 2. No, we did 1, 2, and 3. Yes. So it's 4 and 5 are remaining. I think that I want to do 4 and 5 separately. And I know like you have actually read these after we did the initial 3 chapters.
I was going to do the homework.
It'll obviously be like a reread, but like so yeah, like obviously you've like read through the end of like chapter 5, but I think that like the reason why I cut it off at 3 is because I really wanted to talk to you about 4.
Okay.
I think chapter 4 is so interesting.
So we're doing just
and
chapter 4?
Gets into like. Yeah, I really want to do just chapter 4 because it's just there's so much politics to it and so much interesting stuff and stuff that I feel like we could connect to. Like when I pitched what happens next originally, I'm like, this is set up so that we can get to chapter 4, basically. Yeah, so we'll leave 5 for a future date, maybe closer to whenever the next chapter starts rolling out. But
next week, what happens next? Chapter 4. This has been the Nobody Leaves podcast. Have a good evening, Mallory.
Have a great day, Sam.
Goodbye.